Estamos viviendo momentos difíciles. Si perdiste tu empleo y el dinero no te alcanza, puede que estés usando tus tarjetas de crédito para sobrevivir. No te agobies. Llámanos. Prometemos ayudarte y mostrarte una manera de reducir tus pagos mensuales. Ayudamos exclusivamente a personas que quieren deshacerse de sus deudas de tarjetas de crédito. Reduce tus deudas y haz un simple pago a todos tus acreedores de tarjetas de crédito, pagado por Cero Deudas.
Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Welcome back to another episode of Purple Politics. I am your hostess, Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, and let's just jump right in it. Abortion, once again, is a looming issue in the 2024 election. Florida abortion rulings to keep issue front and center in November. Two key decisions made by the Florida Supreme Court are set to play a significant role in keeping abortion rights at the forefront of voters' minds as the November elections approach. The first decision clears the path for a ban on abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy to come into effect next month, while the second approves a ballot measure that, if passed, would reverse the ban and restore broader abortion access in the state. While Florida may not be considered a top battleground state for the presidential election, it hosts a crucial Senate race and several competitive congressional races. Democrats nationwide see an opportunity to emphasize an issue where they have the advantage over Republicans, who have prioritized the economy, immigration, and President Biden's fitness for office. The rulings come at a time when abortion rights advocates have been winning referendum victories and Democratic candidates have campaigned successfully against abortion restrictions. However, Democrats still need to work hard to convince voters that they are the ones who will protect abortion access, even though support for it transcends party lines. Despite trailing behind former President Trump in various polls, including on economic stewardship and concerns about his age, Biden's campaign sees abortion rights as a mobilizing force. Biden aims to make Roe v. Wade federal law again, positioning himself as a protector of women's rights to choose in his re-election bid. Although that is kind of funny and ironic considering just 2 years ago, right before it was leaked that Roe was going to be overturned by the Dobbs case by the United States Supreme Court, the Biden administration didn't even know what a woman was. We couldn't define a woman. In fact, that was a crucial issue with the last Supreme Court justice's hearings. What is a woman? Recall that. Biden's administration, Biden himself, his press secretary, everyone around him didn't know what a woman was, wouldn't even define it. But now, because abortion is such an important, crucial issue, and look, I am all for pro-choice. I feel that it is such a devaluation of the human that is a woman, the being that is a woman, to not allow the right to choose, to not allow to have proper medical access to women who, there are multitude of reasons why someone chooses to go through a procedure that is emotionally and psychologically very serious and has, repercussions as well. But to not be able to have it, to have a state, which if for those of you who want to say you're feminist, for a oligarch, mostly men, is telling women, hey, by the way, you don't have a right to choose. We're going to put that back in the back burner. But then on top of that, oh, by the way, biological women, you're not a biological woman and you don't have rights. And we're going to take away the rights that you have effectively only had for 50 years. So nice to know that Biden is actually positioning himself to be the protector of women's rights. I'm hoping then that might ascend to actually stopping his own Department of Education, trying to get Title IX services Title VII, repealed, which protects women's rights to scholarships and sports, and perhaps actually realizing, yes, we are equal rights. We are people. And also for the women electorates out there, we have the most registered women are outweigh men in registered voters. Biden, and we'll get into it in the polls, but Biden is not as strong as he was in 2020 when it comes to the women elections. So this is a key issue. Trump, on the other hand, has advocated for a less restrictive approach to abortion, recognizing the political consequences of outright bans. He supports states' rights on the matter while taking credit for appointing conservative Supreme Court justices who contributed to overturning Roe v. Wade. In Florida, where more than 60% of the residents support the ballot measure to expand abortion access to viability, which basically goes back to up to 24 weeks, has garnered significant attention. This effort aligns with similar initiatives in other states like Arizona, Nevada, and Montana, reflecting a broader national conversation on abortion rights and access. And while the Florida Supreme Court has come down to, and shockingly found that the constitutional right of privacy, that we actually do here in Florida have a constitutional right to privacy, which was passed by the voters in 1980, basically to follow along with the intent to preserve the rights that were afforded under Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court of Florida stated that the right to privacy does not go to the right to abortion. So President Biden assails the Florida Supreme Court ruling as absolutely outrageous. And he blames Trump specifically for the fact that we are dealing with this abortion issue once again. President Biden strongly condemning the Florida Supreme Court's decision to uphold a restrictive abortion law, labeling it outrageous and extreme. He warns that such measures effectively eliminate access to abortion, particularly in the American South, endangering the health and lives of millions of women. Despite this setback, Biden emphasizes that voters will have the opportunity to voice once again on the November election here in Florida. We will have a constitutional referendum up for election to allow abortions up to the viability of the baby, which would be approximately 24 weeks. The Biden campaign, along with the Democratic officials, launches an aggressive effort to attribute responsibility for the dwindling access to abortion care to former President Donald J. Trump. They assert that Trump's policies and appointments have led to widespread abortion bans, particularly in the southeastern United States. Democrats fear that if reelected, Trump may push for a national abortion ban, exacerbating the situation further. While Trump has expressed support for a 15-week abortion ban with certain exceptions, his campaign has not yet responded to the Florida Supreme Court's decisions. Democrats view the Florida rulings as a potentially rally point for voters and hope to leverage the issue to mobilize support and possibly flip the state, despite facing significant challenges in a state where Trump maintains strong support. Also, let's remember, it's not necessarily the Trump support that makes Florida that went deep red. Actually, we can contribute the deep redness of Florida to Governor DeSantis, because Governor DeSantis, in his reelection for governor in 2022, he broke records of how far beyond over 20 percentage points winning the gubernatorial race. He flipped many counties that were purple or even bluish There's not really true blue unless you look at like West Palm Beach County and Broward, but he flipped some counties to deep red. And in that, some of the senatorial candidates and U.S. representative candidates riding his coattails also reaped that benefit. The Florida Supreme Court's decision intensifies scrutiny on the state of Florida, which has historically served as a refuge for individuals from more restrictive states seeking abortions. The court's rulings upheld a 15-week abortion ban, which was enacted last year, while allowing a proposed constitutional amendment guaranteeing abortion rights to proceed to the November ballot. So you see what happened was DeSantis and his very far-right legislature passed a 15-week ban last year, 2023. And then this year, they passed a 6-week ban. But this new constitutional amendment that will be up for vote alongside with presidential elections, Florida U.S. Senate and such, will be this amendment. And if the polls are correct, then it's going to look like we will be passing that protection along with women. Now, what this severely does is, and some people will say, well, what's the big deal at 6 weeks? Well, 6 weeks is very short time. Most women don't find out that they're pregnant until around, if they're keeping track, around the 6th week because they missed a period or something. However, what the biggest effect that this ruling has is that in the Southeast region, Florida was seen an uptick in abortions because of other states that have banned abortion or severely restricted those abortions around the South. Those women have been coming to Florida. And while this is still a huge issue, Donald J. Trump, campaigning in the crucial swing states, which include Georgia, North Carolina, on Tuesday, avoided discussing this issue directly, but hinted that he will be doing so the next week, supposedly next week. But he has said in the past that he agrees that there should be a limit to when you can get it. So it's not going to be an open season on abortion. You shouldn't be able to do it all the way up to birth, 9 months, but he has stated in the past that he would be open to capping abortions to 15 weeks unless it was incest, rape, or severe medical health issues for the mother. Now, while we continue to see this battle and roll out, I can tell you as a voter, it's like I agree with then First Lady Barbara Bush, President George Herbert Walker Bush's wife, when she stated during the Republican National Convention that abortion was should not be a political argument. It should not be politicized. It should not be an issue because this is inured in the right of the woman. This should be a very private decision and should not be earmarked for all those to see. This does not belong on a political campaign. And once again, here we are. So until such time as Congress, because again, Biden says, oh, I'm going to fix this. Well, he can't fix it unless Congress passes a law, unless Congress enacts a federal legislative law legalizing abortion, which actually Senator Kennedy tried after the Roe was overturned, the Dobbs case decision was released. He attempted to do a legislative bill for 15-week abortion. So until such time as we get consensus either federally among the congressional members to say we want this and we're going to pass this, this is still going to be a state-by-state issue. And you're going to continue to see this battle of women's rights, the right to choose, versus those that are really putting, forcing their either Christian moral views on others or the just catering to an extreme faction of parties. Now, I am Alina Gonzalez Dockery. I want to thank Now Media TV, and we're going to take a quick commercial break. Thank you.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
And we're back. Navigating the crossroads, Trump's legal battles clash with presidential campaign trail. Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee for the presidency in 2024, faces an unprecedented challenge as he navigates a series of criminal charges, civil claims, while pursuing the highest office in the United States. With a total of 85 criminal charges and additional civil liabilities looming over him, Trump must strategically manage his legal battles while attempting to secure a path to the White House. The array of cases against Trump span various issues, including his conduct surrounding the 2020 election, dealings with women, and actions related to the Trump Organization. One significant case involves allegations of conspiracy concerning the Georgia vote, where a judge recently dismissed some charges but left the broader case intact. Another case at the federal level pertains to classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, with ongoing disputes regarding the government's obligations to provide documents before trial. Trump's legal troubles extend beyond the 2020 election, with cases like the Stormy Daniels hush money scandal and defamation suits such as E. Jean Carroll case, in which Trump claims to have secured a significant bond. Additionally, the Trump Organization faces civil fraud charges which are being appealed, with Trump recently posting a substantial bond while appealing that multi-million-dollar judgment. Despite the legal complexities and mounting charges, Trump remains focused on his political ambitions, navigating the legal landscape while pursuing the presidency. The Supreme Court's involvement in several of these cases adds another layer of complexity, with hearings scheduled for April and ongoing disputes over issues like immunity claims and ballot access. As Trump attempts to fend off criminal convictions and his civil liabilities, his legal battles are intertwined with his political aspirations, shaping the trajectory of his presidential campaign and the broader landscape of American politics. The outcome of these campaigns will not only impact Trump's personal fate, but also have significant implications for the future of the Republican Party. Because let's face it, the Republican Party now is so wrapped up with Trump and MAGA, there is almost no differentiating it, and the country. Trump's judicial and political calendars are tightly intertwined with significant legal dates overlapping key events. And I want to give you a breakdown, let's catch you up, of all of Trump's legal shenanigans, if we would say, since 2024. So January 8th, arguments in the federal appeals court regarding Trump's claim to absolute immunity. Recall, if the president ordered someone to be murdered on the streets, he would be immune. That was one of the examples that was provided for actions during his presidency. January 10th, closing arguments in a New York City civil case against Trump Organization for the alleged fraud. January 16th, second trial begins in a New York civil case on defamation charges brought by E. Jean Carroll against Trump. February 8th, Supreme Court hears oral arguments on Trump's immunity claim in a case regarding states barring him from the ballot. Remember, that was like Colorado and other states were barring him from even being on the primary ballots. February 12th, hearing in Florida on classified materials in a federal criminal case involving Mar-a-Lago documents. February 15th, hearing in Manhattan on pretrial issues relating to the Stormy Daniels hush money case. February 28th, Supreme Court agrees to consider Trump's immunity claim and sets oral arguments for this later this month. March 4th, Supreme Court reverses Colorado's ruling barring Trump from the ballot, ending similar challenges elsewhere. March 8th, Trump secures a $92 million bond for defamation judgment in E. Jean Carroll case until such time as his appeals are heard. March 25th, the New York Appellate Court reduced Trump's bond from $464 million in that civil fraud case brought by the Attorney General to $175 million, which is basically 60% reduction. That was a huge win for Trump. April 1, just this past Monday, Trump posted that $175 million bond, which is there until such time as his appeals can be heard. And April 15th, the start of the trial of the Manhattan Stormy Daniels hush money case has been scheduled. And the week of April 22nd, the United States Supreme Court will be hearing arguments on the Trump's immunity claim. May 24th is the scheduled start for Trump's federal trial in Florida for the Mar-a-Lago classified documents. August 5th is a proposed start date for the trial on the Georgia charges of conspiring to overturn the 2020 election, and November 5th is the presidential election. These dates highlight Trump's legal battles, including his civil fraud charges. And as we're talking about it, coming up in a matter of a few weeks, April 15th, Trump's case for the hush money matter in New York will begin. There are no more continuances. The judge is not granting any more continuances. He has set that date. Now, how legal fights and stalling by judge in the Florida Mar-a-Lago case has pushed the Attorney General's office or the U.S. attorneys to trying to push the judge to make decisions and clear up situations to move things along faster. So the criminal case against former President Donald Trump, once considered straightforward, has encountered delays and unusual legal maneuvers under the U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, who was appointed by Trump. She has deferred rulings on key legal matters, potentially pushing the trial beyond the November presidential election. Now, also recall that though this was the first case to be brought or filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office, they wanted the Washington, D.C. The U.S. Attorney's Office wanted the Washington, D.C. case to go first. So that initially, this judge deferred her case till after the D.C. case. Prosecutors are expressing frustration with Cannon's handling of the case now, especially since the D.C. case is definitely on hold until such time as the immunity claims can be heard on April 23rd, and also most likely a judgment or decision from SCOTUS not being brought until June, which basically means they're now making their focus to the Mar-a-Lago case, which honestly, by all experts' opinions, has the most teeth, if you will. Critics allege that Cannon's approach favors Trump's strategy of delaying the trial, possibly until after the election. Her handling of a previous lawsuit by Trump has raised suspicions about her motives, although some attribute her slow pace to inexperience rather than deliberate action. I find that somewhat ridiculous, because if someone were to look at federal criminal trials and federal criminal cases, you will see that most are extended out. There are due process issues. I mean, we had the right, so does Trump, Love him or hate him. He has constitutional rights to due process. You have to be able to look into these documents. There is a fine-tooth comb going through these documents to see whether whether Trump's attorneys can access them, have availability with them because of the classified nature. Also, what is really embroiling some of this is the fact that this is very new case law pertaining to whether a president has the right under the President Document Act to declassify documents and keep it as his personal mementos. Also, this begs the question, if it is so, if this is under the, if this is such a threat to the United States, and this is under the Espionage Act, in the Espionage Act, you had to show that this was classified documents and he was secreting them out, then why isn't the U.S. attorney going after Biden? Biden had documents that were classified and secret dating back to his U.S. Senator days, which he had no authority to keep any classified documents. In fact, he should never have been able to take them out of the strict room where they keep these documents for review by congressional members. Also, he had them out in his garage. He had them in his office. He had them in his homes. Why isn't Biden being treated equally? Right or wrong, there should be an equal access of law. President Biden had classified documents dating back to his days as vice president and as senator. And even as vice president, he was not entitled to any of those documents. So they're trying to say why. Oh, that's right. He may not be able to stand trial because his memory is so poor that he wouldn't provide effective assistance to counsel for his defense. But yet he's okay to be president. Got it. We're going to take a quick break and make sure to tune right back in.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again.
What if this happened to you when you're alone? Or what if it happened here? With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new CareWatch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. The CareWatch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. Don't wait. Call us to get your CareWatch right now. Operators are standing by.
Who is a bigger threat to democracy than Trump? Well, as you know, the Democrats and Biden have been saying that Trump is a threat to democracy. But, Trump tried to overturn the election. He encouraged an insurrection, although I don't believe anybody's actually been convicted of an insurrection from Jan 6. However, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an independent presidential candidate who is surging in many of the polls up to 18%, argued on CNN's Aaron Burnett Out Front that President Joe Biden poses a greater threat to democracy than former President Donald Trump. Kennedy's assertion is based on his claims of being censored on social media platforms during the Biden administration, which he views as an attempt to undermine the First Amendment by censoring political speech. Now, what he basically stated was he wasn't going to answer who was the greater threat. What he said is he could argue that Biden was a bigger threat than Trump because, first of all, Trump has never been indicted or convicted of an insurrection or trying to overthrow it. But also he's saying that because Biden Biden, his administration, his Department of Justice, and the FBI have been going after the right of free speech, First Amendment speech of individuals, also has been going after political candidates and opponents with DOJ, which that is a greater threat to democracy, as he made the argument. Now, Kennedy highlighted his removal from social media platforms attributing to the pressure from the Biden administration as evidence of the president's efforts to silence political opposition. Despite being suspended from platforms like Instagram, Kennedy's account was later reinstated after he announced his presidential campaign, with Meta citing his candidacy as the reason for restoration. Again, Meta, Twitter, before Elon Musk purchasing it, and other social media platforms not only deplatformed people that were seen to be opposed to Biden administration or the Democratic speaking point, because it was, under the guise of, misinformation and disinformation, which, let's face it, especially hindsight 2020, the administration is the biggest misinformation. Add that, and Fauci even admitted he was making up rules as he went. While acknowledging that Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election pose a threat to democracy, Kennedy argued that Biden's use of federal agencies to censor political speech makes him the greater threat. He refrained from defending Trump's actions, emphasizing the importance of the First Amendment. What greater amendment is there than the First Amendment? The Democratic National Committee dismissed Kennedy's comparison, stating that there is no equivalence between Biden and Trump. They criticized Kennedy for pushing MAGA talking points and attempting to draw parallels between the two presidents, emphasizing Trump's actions in inciting the Capitol riot. Kennedy also addressed concerns about questioning the integrity of elections, stating that people who believe the election was stolen should not be vilified. Despite facing rebukes from some members of his family, Kennedy remains committed to his presidential bid, citing his disagreements with his family members and asserting his right to run for office without their support. Honestly, why that has anything to do with who is the bigger threat to democracy, who knows? But the bottom line is the DNC is doing everything they can to make sure that Kennedy has been silenced from the first moment he announced his presidential campaign as a Democrat. He went independent because the DNC himself said it. Nope, we have made our push. Let's see, greater threat to democracy. We now have Hillary Clinton basically stating, why are we even holding an election? The obvious choice is Biden. Isn't that anti-American? Isn't that the whole point of a free democracy? These are major issues. So yes, arguably, who is the greater threat? I think you can make great points on both candidates, which then makes you wonder, why do we have only a two-party state when it is so glaring that we need a third party to come in? Because people are tired. People are sick and tired of the division, sick and tired of the barbs, and also are really, really, really questioning. And based on the low approval ratings of both President Biden and President Trump, is there a better choice? Now, there have been some extreme takeaways from the Wall Street Journal swing state polls. A recent Wall Street Journal poll of 7 swing states reveals concerning trends for President Biden, who is trailing in 6 of these crucial battlegrounds. Moreover, the poll underscores fractures within the Democratic coalition, with key groups such as Black, Latino, and young voters showing reluctance to support Biden or even shifting towards Donald Trump, especially among men. Among men, Biden's support has dwindled significantly compared to his 2020 election, with only 37% backing him in the swing states surveyed. Similarly, Biden's support among women have also weakened, albeit to a lesser extent, standing at about 50%. However, it's the decline in support among men that is particularly notable. Minority voters, including Black and Latino men, are showing significant support for Trump, with 30% of Black men and 47% of Latino men expressing backing for the former president. Biden's standing among these groups has notably decreased compared to his 2020 election, posing challenges for his campaign. Additionally, young voters, a crucial part of the Democratic base, are showing signs of underperformance for Biden, with only 50% supporting him in the swing states polled. In contrast, Biden appears to be holding his ground among voters aged 65 and older, while Trump's support among seniors has slightly declined. The poll also highlights dissatisfaction with the major party candidates, leading 15% of voters to opt for independent or third-party candidates. RFK Jr. emerges as a notable alternative candidate, drawing support primarily from Trump backers and potentially impacting the election outcome, particularly in close cases. RFK has been polling very strongly with young voters and with his his running mate, with his vice presidential running mate, also being able to attract Gen Z and millennial voters. I mean, you are also seeing a lot of independents. That's the plurality. If you are non-party affiliated, if you are a disenfranchised Republican or Democrat, you are a moderate. Where do you stand within those parties? Many of us are finding us being out there in the blue ocean, basically, like, where do we have? We have no home. Much of the appeal of RFK Jr. and other independent candidates. So this is, once again, like we said last week, we're starting to see another remake of 1992 election of the Ross Perot independent candidacy and how it hurt and affected then sitting running incumbent President H.W. Bush. We're now seeing that RFK Jr. Effect. Overall, the polls are suggesting a challenging road ahead for Biden, which Biden is trying to figure out. He's scratching his head. Why is he polling so poorly? A lot of it has to do with low approval ratings. A lot of it has to do with the fact that people are still questioning his ability to run this country for another 4 years when they have seen so many foibles by him, so many slips and senior moments. And let's face it, beware the meddler. Democrats' RFK Jr. dilemma in the shadow of GOP tactics. The emergence of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as a strong independent presidential candidate has sparked concerns among Democrats who fear he could siphon crucial votes away from Joe Biden. Led by veteran strategist Mary Beth Cahill, the DNC is mobilizing efforts to counter Kennedy and other third-party candidates. Left-wing groups, with the assistance of legal expert Mark Elias, are actively working to block Kennedy's presence on the ballot in key swing states. Yes, that is right, folks. Democratic National Committee, they're all about safeguarding our democracy and making sure that our elections are true and upholding what, that every candidate should be on the ballot, are doing everything they can to blockade RFK. They've been doing that from the get-go, to the point that even Biden continues to refuse to allow Secret Service protection to RFK, even though he has been receiving threats and such. And the people are even saying that he should have Secret Service. Kennedy's candidacy is part of a broader surge in independent candidates, reflecting public dissatisfaction with the traditional two-party state. Green Party contender Jill Stein, academic Cornel West, and the Libertarian Party are among those in the mix. Democrats worry that these third-party campaigns could provide Republicans with a potent new tactic, which they took from the Democrats' strategies in GOP primaries. The fears that GOP super PACs could target swing states with ads highlighting aspects of Kennedy's platform that might resonate with certain demographics, potentially undermining Biden's support. Republicans could leverage Kennedy's progressive proposals, such as a ban on fracking, to appeal to young climate activists, or promote third-party candidates like Cornel West to target minority voters dissatisfied with Biden. Recent elections have hinged on narrow margins in key states, and Republicans recognize they don't necessarily need Biden voters to switch allegiance to Trump. They just need them not to vote for Biden. Trump's remarks on Kennedy's candidacy, coupled with significant financial backing with donors like Tim Mellon, underscored Democratic concerns about potential Republican interference in the election. In response, Democrats are framing any support for third-party candidates as support for Trump. Because God forbid we don't just all step in line with the DNC, although the DNC is there to support the Constitution. Again, you can't have it both ways. Biden has done everything it could, or the Biden administration has been shown in court cases to the point of the United States Supreme Court saying that they have found that they have been violating our First Amendment rights. And I say ours. It's not just Trump. It's not just Kennedy. There have been multiple of people. So Biden, if you want to say that you are the purveyor of democracy, then get DNC to do the right thing. Acknowledge other candidates. But yes, RFK has acknowledged that he is a spoiler. He is a spoiler for both Biden and Trump. And this is truly going to be the most interesting election we've had since 1992. So stay tuned and come right back after this quick commercial break by our Now Media TV.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
And now we are crossing the border into Mexico. So environmental scientists poised to become Mexico's president amid climate silence. In Mexico, the possibility of an environmental scientist, Claudia Sheinbaum, becoming the next president comes amidst the backdrop of increasing threats from climate change. Sheinbaum herself experienced the impacts firsthand when she had to evacuate her home due to rising sea levels in El Bosque. Mexico faces challenges like severe droughts, water shortages, and intensifying storms, prompting crucial infrastructural and political decisions. While Sheinbaum's scientific background positions her as a potential advocate for climate action, her alignment with the current president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, suggests continuity in policies favoring fossil fuels. López Obrador has prioritized investments in oil production and state-controlled energy generation despite growing concerns about climate change. The upcoming presidential election will not only determine Mexico's energy policy trajectory, but also marks the nation's first female president. Sheinbaum's contender, Xochitl Gálvez, proposes a focus on private investment and transitioning to renewable energy, contrasting with Sheinbaum's inclination towards state-controlled power generation. Water scarcity exacerbates environmental concerns in Mexico, with Mexico City grappling with over-extraction and drought. Sheinbaum, known for her scientific approach in managing the COVID-19 pandemic in Mexico City while she was mayor, faces the challenge of translating her urban eco-initiatives to a national scale, although her detailed plans remain unclear. Despite López Obrador's administration's emphasis on strengthening Mexico's fossil fuel industry, Sheinbaum's policies hint at a dual strategy of supporting current national energy policies while incorporating a science-focused approach. However, her broader climate plan lacks comprehensive specifics, leaving constituents with growing concerns about issues like water shortages. Now, Mexico's presidential election is June 2nd. It is actually an exciting time because both frontrunners for the presidential candidate are women. We are going to see for the first time a female president of Mexico, with Sheinbaum leading the polls by 30 points. So this will be a very interesting times, but also how interesting that we have an environmental engineer going forward on a platform that is drill, baby, drill. Sound familiar? And more news from across the border. Mexican president says the flow of migrants will continue unless the U.S. meets his demands. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador recently issued warnings during a 60-minute interview stating that unless the United States fulfills Latin America's request for aid, the flow of migrants will persist. In January, Obrador presented a series of demands to the U.S., including sending $20 billion in aid annually to Latin American countries and granting some level of amnesty to illegal immigrant workers currently in the U.S. Despite Mexico's state-level efforts to reduce mass migration, such as those initiated at the U.S. President Biden's request, the number of migrants started to rise again in February. The Border Patrol anticipates another surge in the spring, underscoring the ongoing challenges in managing migration flows. During the interview, correspondent Sharon Alfonsi asked Obrador about his plans to address migration. Obrador emphasized the importance of addressing the root causes of migration in Latin America and called for serious attention to these underlying issues. Alfonsi highlighted Obrador's demands for the U.S. to take specific actions, including providing financial aid to Latin American countries, lifting sanctions on Venezuela, communist nation, ending the Cuban embargo, and legalizing millions upon millions of Mexicans now living illegally or undocumented in the U.S. Obrador made it clear that failure to address his demands would result in the continued flow of migrants. Responding to this criticism that his demands amounted to diplomatic blackmail. Obrador defended his stance, stating that he speaks frankly about the situation. He emphasized the importance of the relationship between Mexico and the U.S. and expressed a willingness to continue cooperating on border security, again, only if his demands are met. Now, let's recall that not all of those that are crossing the border since the Biden administration coming into effect in January 2021, not all are Latin American. Mexico has opened itself to the processing of people illegally crossing our borders from multiple of other countries and regions: Asia, China, Middle East, Africa, and many of these single militarized men. Alfonso concluded the segment by noting that immigration, border security, and the economy are pivotal issues in 2024 election. In fact, the 2024 election, the vast majority, upwards of 60% of American voters are saying that immigration, not the economy, is the number one issue. And these border demands by the Mexican president have had some setbacks or slams by both Biden and Trump. Trump slams Obrador's $10 billion to $20 billion request as extortion, while the White House stands firm on its position. Former President Trump recently criticized Mexican President Obrador's demands for aid from the U.S., stating that he wouldn't have entertained such requests during his presidency due to a perceived lack of respect shown towards the Biden administration. Trump highlighted Obrador's request for $10 billion merely to initiate negotiations, labeling it as unacceptable. This commentary came during an interview with Brian Kilmeade when Trump discussed the challenges facing the Biden administration in dealing with foreign leadership. Obrador reiterated his demands again during the 60-minute piece. And it, in fact, was for $20 billion to Latin American countries. This would be on top of the aid that's already being provided to these countries. Despite emphasizing the importance of the U.S.-Mexico relationship, Trump found this to be a clear sign of the weakness that Biden portrays in the international realm. And many have stated that Biden's administration is weak. And Trump states, through strength is security, much like Ronald Reagan stated back in the 80s when he was running for president, or in the late 70s, and then eventually winning the 1980 presidential campaign. Now, the Biden White House responded to Obrador's demands by emphasizing that U.S. policy decisions prioritize national interests. While acknowledging the importance of bilateral cooperation, the White House highlighted the constructive relationship between President Biden and President Obrador, built on mutual respect and cooperation on various issues, including migration and counter-narcotics. The White House reiterated the significance of a U.S.-Mexico collaboration in addressing migration and other shared challenges, emphasizing the need for constructive dialogue and cooperation. Both countries recognize each other's sovereignty and engage in frank and respectful conversations, but ultimately prioritize their national interest in policy formulation. Immigration is the significant issue of this presidential election here in the United States. It is also what we have been seeing, millions upon millions, record-breaking surges on over our southern borders, has been a result of that fateful Democratic debate of 2019, where Biden basically said, of course we should have open borders. Biden can curtail this simply enough by reinstating some of those executive orders that he so gladly nixed. That was, you stay in place in Mexico until your asylum hearings are dealt with. Start allowing the Border Patrol to do their job. This is a serious issue because what we are seeing is a heightened amount of gangs coming across. We are having more trafficking, of human trafficking. We're seeing more children deposited on our U.S. borders. Something has to be done. But for the president of Mexico to basically say, pay up, or I'm going to allow it to continue to be open, when in fact he has a surge on his own borders, that takes some moxie. Let's put it that way. I'll give you that. President of Mexico, you have a lot of moxie. But as we used to say, it's the economy, stupid. Well, it is immigration. Immigration, the key issue, where Trump actually polls much better than Biden. So this will be a continuing issue as we go through the next months of the general election, and as we are approaching our conventions as well. This has been another episode of Purple Politics. Thank you so much for following, tuning in, and checking out Now Media's Purple Politics. I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, wishing you a wonderful weekend.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company, the time you spend with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
Are you drowning in a sea of medical records, spending countless hours in the documentation? Picture this, a cutting-edge AI-powered tool designed specifically for the healthcare industry that streamlines your workflow, reducing time and effort spent on tedious medical record research. Introducing DataDive, your lifesaver in medical record review. Say goodbye to manual data extraction and hello to efficiency. Our advanced artificial intelligence delves into vast medical databases, swiftly extracting relevant information so you can focus on what truly matters, patient care. Imagine having a virtual assistant at your fingertips, tirelessly working to compile comprehensive medical histories, treatment plans, and diagnostic reports. DataDive not only saves you time, but ensures accuracy and completeness in your documentation. DataDive adapts to your unique needs, learning from your preferences, constantly improving its performance. It's like having a dedicated research partner that evolves with you. The future of health